like chanting, coming to the Harikatha is the right, and going somewhere else is the wrong.
Yes. So what you are trying to say is what the Guru Sadhu Shastra say is the right thing. The Shastra tells us to engage in Krishna consciousness, to engage in sadhana bhakti. So we do that, that is right. Shastra also says, take care of your family, take care of your job, look after your responsibilities, and look after your car, your paycheck, your children, your body. So, Shastra tells us what is right and what is wrong. So, our decision should be making right decisions and avoiding to make wrong decisions. What else does the Shastra say? Do not waste time. Time is very precious. Do not waste time in what? In Gramya Katha. No Prajalpa. No village talk. No rumors and nonsense, mundane things that have no real substance or are not really conducive to our spiritual life. Like in the song, it says, Danya Atma Nivedana Goptratve Varana Avashya Rakshive Krishna Vishwasa Palana Bhakti Anukula Matra Karyera Svikara Bhakti Pratikula Bhava Varjana Gikara. Whatever is conducive to your devotional service, accept that. And whatever is not conducive to your devotional service, reject that. That is discrimination. Making the right decisions and avoiding the wrong decisions. Nandu finally made the right decision to come to the temple and avoided the wrong decision of not coming tonight. We haven't seen you in a few days, Nandu. We're going to have to discuss that later.
You didn't tell Rajkumar Prabhu to sit down.
Please sit down, Prabhuji. I was trying to help him stay away. Please sit down whenever you feel. Why should we be making right decisions and avoiding wrong decisions? Because that is going to save us time and it's going to help us to take us towards our goal. What is our goal? Krishna Prema, service, so many things. If we waste time, can we do all of those things on top of doing everything else that we have to do for our family and for ourselves and everything? No. Control of mind. Here is somebody who's trying to control her mind. Controlling the mind. Why should we control the mind? Sorry? Wonders everywhere. Thank you for coming. Mother Madhura Leela. Without you, nobody has been speaking here. You know, it's been very difficult to get devotees to speak here. Can you help us out? Encourage some others, you too. encourage some others to speak also. These are not very difficult questions, are they? This is how we have a discussion. Discussion means everybody contribute. So if you can, please raise your hand and we would appreciate that. Why should one control their mind?
Mine is very chanchal.
Because it is chanchal, it needs to be controlled. Any other reason why we should control our mind?
Focus.
To focus on what we have to do. Okay.
As we learn to discriminate what is right and what is wrong, so to be, as she said, we need to be focused on right things.
Yes.
So you need to control it and pull it towards right things.
Yes. Very good. Wonderful explanation. Basically, if you do not control your mind, it's going to control you. You want to be controlled by your mind? What is it like to be controlled by your mind? It's like the Nikes say, just do it. How many people here believe in just do it? Just do it means do not consider what is right, what is wrong.
Just do it.
Just do it. We cannot just do it. We have to make sure that what we are just about to do is the right thing to do. Not because the mind says do it, so you just do it. Do you just do it? No. So that means you are controlling your mind. Because the mind wants you to just do it. Whatever is looking good, jump at it. Whatever is feeling good, feel it, touch it. Whatever is seems like yummy, grab it and shove it in your little mouth. No. What do we do first? We make sure that it's proper, vegetarian, fresh, this, that, the other thing, and then we offer and make that prasad, because we do not eat bhoga. Do we eat bhoga? No. Krishna eats bhoga. We eat prasad. So, mind control is that way. Just examples. This is not the only thing. How do we control our mind? This is one way, meditation. And the other way is practicing and
renunciation.
renunciation.
Chanting.
Did we say to raise your hands? Chanting. Who said that? Very good. Chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It helps to control your mind. If you chant good 16 rounds every day, I can guarantee you, you will not need antidepressant pills. Is there anyone here who is on depression pills? Anyone? Nobody. If I go and ask outside, to this many people, more than half will raise their hands. Yes, I am on antidepressant pills. But our devotees are not. Because they are chanting. And chanting the holy name and engaging in devotional service makes it easy for us to control our minds. That was number 7, and now we are at number 8. Is it okay? Should we take a break and chant a bhajan in between? How many devotees say chant something and then continue? And how many say continue as it is? Oh my God, there is more. Okay, we have to go with the majority.
Never mind how much we upset or how much we in pain, but when we chant our holy name, itself is go away. The pain go away, unhappiness go away of itself. So much powerful Hari Nam's name.
Nitai Gaur Premanande! Jai!
My old age, I started when I was very young, Bhagwan ka naam, but now I don't feel pain. I keep chanting Hari Naam, and I don't feel pain like everybody said, I got a headache, I'm old, I got to this. I'm 91 years old, I have no pain. अरे बेटा मेरा
What more do you need?
बेटा, आज भाई बेटा हमारा प्रचारक हो गया, कितना खुशी के पास। भगवान के नाम में जितना शक्ति है, उतना कितना भी हरी भाजी हरी भोजन खाएंगे उसमें ताकत नहीं है, जितना हरी नाम में ताकत।
Jai Mother Saraswati. She is 91 and she is telling us with her experience. Is there anybody here older than her? She is the most senior. So the next is control of the senses.
Yes. That's all I'm doing. I'm never playing my 16 round.
Control of the senses. Why should we control the senses? You see all the senses there? They're all together. And the control also. So number 8 principle is control of the senses. The question is, why control of the senses? Here is the question. Why should we control our senses? His Grace Sahadev Das Prabhu.
Not controlling the senses, you have no rules and regulations, you're just free as a bird.
What else? That's it for now.
Two things, I mean, just to add on to that. Control the senses to control the mind.
Yes.
And you control the
Very
mind
good.
if you control the 5 things that you mentioned as first 5 principles. All the principles you have that.
Yes.
But the first 5, truthfulness, austerity.
So the answer is, if you control the senses, that helps us control the mind. So Ekadashi is kind of an austerity that helps us with that we control the senses even more than otherwise on this day. We are careful about not consuming any grains and beans and all that. You too, Govinda? Cookies today? No? Cereal? Roti? Chawal? Dal? What are you eating?
Milk.
What? Candies? Ekachi candy? What? Fruits and do you go in the kitchen and grab anything and eat, or do you ask first? You ask first? Good. Because those who do not ask, whatever they see edible, they just go and eat. They become a fish in the next life. And then the fisherman comes and he drops a little piece of food with a kata inside. And the fish comes and grabs the food and the kata gets stuck in the throat. And then the fisherman pulls that. And then you hang upside down or the right side up, but with a kata in your throat. Who would like that? Then eat with discrimination and control your senses. If you have uncontrolled senses, then the system made by Krishna is going to give you this kind of bodies. You want to just go and grab whatever? Many people take pride in saying, "Oh, Prabhuji, we are not very picky. We just eat whatever anybody gives us, We're not very picky. We do not like to trouble people. If they eat beef in their home, so we cannot go to somebody's house and demand chicken. We have to eat whatever they eat." No, please demand vegetables. Or just let go. Don't eat. Drink some water and go to bed. Because so much karma going to incur. Might as well just fast. Arjun Chacha used to tell us a story of this Panditji in Kenya. There was a Panditji in Kenya. Of course, Panditji was vegetarian. So, one day he hitched a ride with this Sardarji and Sardarni to go someplace. You're going, okay, take me there too. But on the way, they sit down to have picnic and they open up the tiffin and they ask Panditji, "Will you have some chicken with us?" He says, no chicken. And they say, "Okay, well, at least have the gravy. You can't have the roti only. Have some gravy." I said, "Okay, I'll have some gravy." So when they're trying to pour the gravy for him, one or two little pieces of chicken want to fall in. And the Sardarji is trying to stop them. And Panditji says, "Whatever wants to fall in, let it fall." Small pieces don't matter. Because it wants to come on its own, so what can I do?
This chicken is vegetarian.
Yeah. If it wasn't, then why would it be chicken? But believe me, every vegetarian chicken you're going to have to pay for. No matter how vegetarian the chicken is, you're going to have to pay for that chicken by your life. Not going to be able to let go. There is justice in this world. We can fool our families, our neighborhood, our local government, our local police, but we cannot fool the real justice system. We're not going to be able to fool it. Paramatma is sitting right inside with every eye. So, carefully control your senses. If we won't control our senses, then the senses will control us. Number 9 is non-violence. Why non-violence? Why should we be non-violent?
All living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of God.
Yes, very good. All living entities are part and parcel of Supreme Personality of Godhead, just like us. So what does that make us? What does that make the other living entities? Our brothers and our sisters. Is it justifiable to kill and cut and cook and eat your own brother or sister? Is it allowed in your house, Nandu? No. Oh, you're the youngest. You won't be around if that was allowed. That's not allowed in any household.
What about mosquitoes?
Are you cooking and cutting and
They
killing
come
and...
and bite you and then you hit it like that and they say Jai Shri Krishna or they say Hare Krishna.
So why do you do that?
So that he can get a liberation.
So then why are you questioning?
Very powerful.
You already have all the answers. Ask a question you need an answer for. You already have the answers.
So is it allowed to kill mosquitoes?
I think I should be sitting over there and you should come and sit on the Vyasasana. Yes.
I have a question on this non-violence. So is it just cutting and killing and so is it hurting somebody by the bat or intentional talk that we are trying to hurt somebody? Is that coming under non-violence as well, or is that coming under the principle of common?
Hurting somebody's feelings.
Yes.
Well, to what extent you hurt somebody's feelings can come under violence or non-violence. But this non-violence is to do with the killing. The other matters will come up further in the 30 points. This one is to do with the killing. There was a pastime about Mrigari hunter. Where is it? In what Shastra? Mrigari hunter. Anybody's heard of the pastime of Mrigari hunter?
Ramayana.
Huh?
Ramayana.
Ramayana? Not that. That's not Mrigari. That's Maharshi Valmiki himself. Mrigari hunter is another one. Mrigari hunter is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it talks about the Mrigari hunter. Mrigari hunter used to kill the animals, but he did not kill the animals, he used to half kill the animals. He would half kill the animals and leave them there in pain and suffering. And he used to like watching them when they're suffering in pain. So Narad Muni, going by one day, noticed that this Mrigari hunter is actually half killing the animals. It's not that the hunters were not around, the hunters have always been around. And not that it's the best activity, but that's how it is. So Narad Muni questioned his activity. So you are a hunter, your job is to kill the animals, but why are you half killing them and watching them suffer like this in pain? Is it giving you any pleasure? And Mrigari says, yes, it gives me pleasure. This is how I've been told, this is how I've been trained to kill the animals by my father. Because if I half kill them and they suffer in pain like that, their meat becomes sweeter. Then, when they completely die, they are sweeter meat and they weigh a little more. So I can get more money for them. Narad Muni said, are you aware that as many animals you are giving this pain to are going to come back one by one and give you all this much pain, and you are going to have to suffer birth after birth after birth for every animal that you are slaughtering like this? Say, yes, I did not know that. So what can I do? What can I do? So Narad Muni said, quit killing the animals like this. So, I do this for my family. I do this to take care of my family. How am I going to do that? And Narad Muni said, okay, I will tell you what to do. Go to the Ganga Ghat and make one small little kutia. And then have a tulsi plant right in front of the kutia, hermitage. And bring the Ganga water and offer it to Tulsi Maharani. Bring some flowers and offer them to her. And worship Tulsi Maharani and worship Ganga. And you will have enough to eat by their mercy. So he said, fine, if you say so, I am willing to give it a try. He takes his wife and he goes and makes the kutia, sets up the tulsi plant, and very dedicatedly and devotionally both these husband and wife are serving Tulsi Maharani and serving Mother Ganga and doing their prayers and completely living a life of goodness. And when they started doing that, the whole village found out, oh, the Mrigari hunter, he's become a devotee. He's become a Hare Krishna Bhakta. 100 चूहे खा के बिल्ली. So they all started coming. When they go to the Ganga, they would bring something, some fruit, some vegetables, some atta, some chawal. And before long, Mrigari had to refuse that, no, I cannot, my wife and I cannot consume this much, please do not bring. Fortunately, he did not have a phone bill to pay, mobile, the smartphone plan, data charges, SMS, MMS, hydro, and there is no end to those bills. And the kutia had no mortgage, no Royal Bank. So, whatever he needed, he was getting more. So one day Narad Muni came back to check out on this bhakta. And as Narad Muni was approaching the little kutia, he found out my guru is coming. So on the pathway, he is running to meet his guru. He jumps one step over there, one step over there, and one step over there, jumping all over the place. And his guru says, Mragari, what happened to you? Why are you jumping? He said, there is ants over here. I don't want to step on them. This is the same Mragari who used to kill big animals and watch them suffer. So with the moment of association with the pure devotee, Mragari hunter became from Mragari hunter to Mragari Vipra. And the whole village, everybody felt that feeding Mragari and his family is just like offering something to their lordships. Because they are living such a nice Brahminical life, they will make an offering of whatever we give them to the Supreme Personality of Godhead before they would consume them. So it is the highest kind of charity if it is given to the right person, and they thought Mragari was the right person. Alright?
Prabhu, I have a question here, please.
Yes.
So in terms of this non-violence, what you give the example, what if a devotee deals with something related to the meat, because he was dealing the meat too, right? So is there any sinful activities for that?
What is the question?
Like any devotee doing the meat dealing, like
Meat
business,
dealing?
yeah.
Yes.
Is it sinful?
Yes.
So
There are 7 occupations that make the sinful activity in terms of dealing with the meat. Number 1, raising animals for the purpose of food for the demons. No matter you are killing them or not. You don't kill them, I just raise them and I sell them. But you know you are raising them for food. You are 100% responsible for every animal you sell for food, for as much as killing them. Number 2, the person who is engaged in actual butchering, meaning killing, the first cut. Number 3 is the person who's cooking that meat. He hasn't killed, he's not going to eat his cooking, but he's 100% responsible. That's according to the Shastra. I'm not saying this. So, the person who cooks is 100% responsible for the death of that animal, although he has not personally killed and is not going to personally eat. Then there is a person who is going to serve it, bring it from the restaurant kitchen and put it on your table. Is fully responsible for killing that animal, according to the Shastra. Don't ask me why. I'm just. Then there is a person who's doing none of this. Not raising the animal, not killing personally, not cooking, not personally serving, but making money from any of this operation related, is the other person who is implicated in the death of that animal. Clear?
Very good.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Yes? Prasannatma Prabhu? You ready for the next?
Yes.
Celibacy. We know all our little children are celibate here, so we will not discuss this very much. Charity is number 11. Why did Narad Muni say that charity is a good principle for becoming a good human being? Yes.
There are 30 qualities being a human being.
Yes.
One of the qualities charity.
Yes.
And also charity is next to the austerity.
Very good. You explained very nicely. Are you a teacher?
No.
Have you been a teacher?
No.
Are you a daughter of a teacher? A mother of a teacher? Wife of a teacher?
Wife of a teacher.
I sound like a teacher?
No, you sound like you can explain very nicely. The meaning that is in a positive way of teacher, not a negative way of teacher. Because sometimes sounding like a teacher has a negative connotation to it. We mean it in a positive way. Because a teacher knows how to explain things more appropriately. So charity or being charitable is a good quality. But also charity, according to the Bhagavad Gita, there are 3 kinds of charity. There is charity. Which are the 3 kinds of charity? Raise your hand, don't say other than Kulbhushan. 3 kinds of charity. Yes. Mother. Soman is your Sarla. Sarla Mataji. बताइए.
Yajna, dana and tapasya.
Yajna, dana and tapasya? No, 3 kinds of charity.
3 moods.
3 kinds of charity. Prasannatma Prabhu.
One is in the mode of goodness, one is in the mode of passion, and the one is in the mode of ignorance.
Very good. 3 kinds of charities in the mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. But there is also a 4th kind of charity. What is the 4th kind of charity? Yes.
That's preaching about Krishna, Shastra,
That's pure goodness. There is goodness, there is passion, there is ignorance, and then there is charity in pure goodness. Meaning, any of these 3 charities are going to bring you a result. A result means it's going to bring you punya. So, if you get punya, then you have to go and enjoy the benefit of your punya activity. But that enjoyment of the punya activity is binding because it keeps you within the cycle of birth, death, old age and disease. It is not out of it. it has you enjoy within this never-ending cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. So, we will take some examples. Charity in goodness would be what?
Giving it to the temple, giving for the temple expense, right?
Did you raise your hand after speaking?
Raise my hand and then speak.
Thank you. Thank you. So, charity in the mode of goodness is giving to the temple and then what would be passion?
Expecting some result out of it.
Yes. And ignorance? Yes.
Giving to a charity where you don't know what they're doing with the money, then, whether they're squandering it or they're using it for not just for
Breaking the principles.
Giving tax to the government also. They're making this casino and everything.
Prabhu, I need to point out that charity is optional. Okay? But if you don't have an option but to give, you cannot call it charity.
Tax is not charity.
We cannot pay our taxes and say, oh yeah, we're charitable because we pay taxes. Well, that's not charity. So I understand what you're trying to say, but it doesn't, it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So, the charity in goodness is like feeding somebody vegetarian food. Giving somebody facility to get some kind of treatment for their body. Helping somebody get basic material education. These are all charities in the mode of goodness. Then, giving people cloth to cover their bodies or cloth to protect them from the weather. So these are mainly 4 kinds of charity in the mode of goodness: giving roti, giving kapda, giving ilaj, and giving vidya, education. These are, makan is also in there, but 4 different major categories of charity in the mode of goodness. All these charities are good, but they will also bring you a result of enjoying the result. Then there is charity in mode of passion. Charity in mode of passion is basically all these things, but if there is a principle broken here. Feeding the homeless some kind of meal that has some chicken or this or that or beef or something involved. Any of the above described mode of goodness charities that by chance break any principles becomes the charity in the mode of passion. In the mode of ignorance is giving the charity to a wrong person for a wrong reason and at a wrong time, which is going to ultimately bring him, the receiver, a bad result. So what is that?
Giving money to somebody to buy us a dress.
Giving money to somebody to buy a cigarette. Sometimes these beggars come up to you and they want money, and then they say, give me for chai. Right away you walk away. There is an example given by a senior devotee that wrong thing at the wrong time in the wrong place for the wrong purpose, which is going to do wrong for the receiver. There is an example. A drunk man, completely drunkard, coming out of a pub at 2 a.m. and he meets a beggar. And in his bottle he has a little bit left. And he says, here, I give you charity. Drink this. So it's a wrong person, wrong receiver, wrong time, wrong thing. And if the beggar is going to drink that wine, what is he going to get? Anything good? No. So, charity in the mode of ignorance. Kind of an example. But just so we understand, this is not the only one, but just to understand different kinds of charities, different spectrum. So, the best charity is in the mode of goodness. Sorry, pure goodness. Mode of pure goodness is you do not give anybody vegetarian food, you give them prasad. Giving prasad in charity is pure goodness, and you will not have to go to Swarg for it. Now, just because you cannot go to Swarg for it, don't stop giving to Prasannatma Prabhu. Because not going to the Swarg is actually benefit to you than going to the Swarg. Does anybody agree? How many agree? And the rest of you don't agree, you rather go to Swarg? How many want to go to Swarg here? Not, that doesn't mean if you raise your hand right now, we will send you to Swarg right now. Not talking that kind of Swarg. That you raise your hand and we make an arrangement for you to go to Swarg right now. Nothing like that. We don't have that plan. At least not in ISKCON of Calvary. We don't do that. We have our temple president here. We have to watch out. And his wife is here too. So, the matter to understand is pure goodness. Charity in pure goodness means you will not get the benefit in terms of going to Swarg, but you will get the highest benefit, because that counts for your, not for your punya, but it counts for your sukriti. Sukriti. How many of you are familiar with sukriti? Nobody? One. Sukriti is like punya, but there is one huge difference between punya and sukriti. Punya, everybody understands punya, I don't have to explain. Punya means you must take advantage of that punya and nullify the account. Whereas sukriti is same as punya, but it can sit on your account and you can keep adding to it. You don't have to nullify it. It does not get nullified. It always maintains the balance. You can only add to that. You cannot deduct. You cannot take out. You cannot spend. You cannot consume. It is the sukriti that is going to give us the highest destination. Because we want a bank account that keeps increasing the money. Anybody wants a bank account with a hole in it? Anyone? The bank balance keeps going down, no matter how much you put in. How many of you would like a bank account, the balance only goes up? Anybody would like that?
To a certain extent.
Everybody would like that. Then open a Sukriti account and close the Punya account. Close the Punya account and open a Sukriti account. But don't go to the bank and say, oh, my dear sir, I am here to close my Punya account today and open a Sukriti account. The bank is not going to do it. You can come here to Prasannatma Prabhu and maybe he can help you and guide you. Right? Open up a Sukriti account. The best kind of Sukriti, just like giving education, is a Punya in the mode of goodness. The mode of pure goodness, the charity of education is spiritual education. Not mundane education, not material education, spiritual education. Spiritual education, just like Sukriti, is also permanent. It goes with you. Spiritual advancement goes with you. You cannot leave it behind with your body. It will go into the next body along with you. That is the difference in the material education or spiritual education. Spiritual education is understanding. How many people here do not understand what it says in the page of Bhagavad Gita most of the time after reading the whole page? Anyone? Please, be honest.
Could you repeat that, please?
After reading the whole page of Bhagavad Gita, do not understand what I just read completely.
Completely. Yes, yes. Nobody understands.
You are even reading the Bhagavad Gita because you have the credits from the previous life of having some spiritual education. Otherwise, like 99% of this world, you would not even get to see the Bhagavad Gita. And those who are more exposed to it understand much better. Our children do. They may not know, or they may think, oh, what is Akrura Prabhu saying from the Vyasasana? It doesn't make any sense. But it will make sense as time goes, because they know what it is like to be in their own shoes. They don't know what it is like to be in our shoes. So that's why they will not understand. If I ask them, they will not understand what I'm talking about. But it's there. Because to them, it comes much easier than it comes to our old buddhi. I'm sorry. I'm including myself along with all the nice ladies and gentlemen. Except Nani, of course. Nani is smart. But the rest of us, after reading the whole page, going over the second time, sometimes it takes going over the third time to completely understand. How many novels you've run into that you don't really understand the first one page after reading the one page? Not very many. There isn't very much to understand. It's okay. So the giving of the spiritual education is your education in the pure goodness. I think we're out of time for today, and I think we've also covered enough material for the day. Thank you very much for all your cooperation and participation. Those who participated, we thank them very specially, and those who did not participate, we thank them also for putting up with us.
No school tomorrow, Saturday.
No school.
Saturday. You can read.
So we will continue from here tomorrow. If there's any final questions, we could take now. If there's anything quick, yes?
Prabhuji, I have a question. You talked about tolerance, and then the next thing is, after that, you pick up the subject of discrimination. And in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, 14, it says, Matras Pashas Tukonteya Sitoshna Sukadikadaha Agma Pahino Nityas Tam Statik Sashe Bharata. But there he emphasizes that we should be very tolerant of these material ups and downs. And in the discrimination, we talk about, when to put our foot down for the right thing versus the wrong thing. So when you discriminate, then it's not that you're tolerating it, you're being very specific as to what you want to do.
Thank you for bringing that up. He's paying attention. This is a proof that somebody is really actually understanding the whole matter that we're discussing. I'm very glad that you brought this up. There is always somewhere in the sand you draw the line. Matrasparsastu Kanteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukkada stands. But at the same time, if we say, okay, I'm going to tolerate no socks, no shoes, no chappal, I'm going to walk to the temple in December in Calgary. Is it practical? Would you come the second time? You'd be lucky to make it the first time. So, everything has a limit. We are supposed to tolerate Shita Ushna. Shita is cold, Ushna is hot. Summer and winter. But to an extent. So, we can do that. But we have to do it, we have to use our intelligence and do it appropriately and without killing ourselves. So that's why it comes to tolerate, but tolerate what your body will. Don't tolerate what you cannot tolerate. There is a limit to how much you can tolerate. Otherwise, it is like Markat Vairagya. Markat Vairagya. Markat Vairagya, Srila Prabhupada gives the explanation that a monkey is just like a Naga Baba kind of Vairagi. You know Naga Baba? They don't wear any clothes. They don't have any belongings. They don't have a place of residence. And so on and so forth. The list goes on. The monkey matches all those qualities. Every monkey has the same qualities. They don't wear any clothes. They don't have any place of residence. And so on and so forth. Every quality matches. But what is the difference? Soon as the monkey sees the she-monkey, jumps. So that is Markat Vairagya, or artificial external show of Vairagya. What we want to do is we want to use our intelligence and use every instruction from the Shastra in a practical point of view. We cannot be fanatic, and we have to learn to use the Shastra explained by our Acharyas in that matter. That's why it says Guru Sadhu Shastra. It doesn't say Shastra only. Because Shastra is going to be revealed to us through our Guru, Srila Prabhupada. So that's what we accept. So that's why we draw a line and say, okay, we tolerate, we also do not tolerate. That's why we discussed what things we should tolerate, and we also discussed what things we should not tolerate. We should not tolerate abuse. We should not tolerate abuse of other devotees. We should not tolerate abuse of ourselves, and we should not tolerate abuse of our own body and our own emotional feelings. Now that doesn't mean soon as smallest little thing happened and I raised both my hands and say, oh, my emotional feelings have been abused. No, please. Have some sense. Right? I know you know all this, but you're asking for the benefit of the others. Any other question?
Prabhuji, just now you recited something.
Matra Sparsha.
Yeah, I want to know the meaning.
Matra Sparshastu Konteya Shitoshu Sukha Dukkada is 2:14 in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says right after the Inosmatade Kaumaram Yavanam Jara, he basically is trying to explain that after distress there is going to be happiness. After happiness there is going to be distress. So when you are going through a distressful phase in your life, do not think that the happiness will never come. And when you are going through a happy phase of your life, do not think that the distress is not standing right in the corner. So that is what Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna in these words. This is Jnana portion. That one should not be perturbed by changing of bodies, sukh, dukh, ये सब चीज आती जाती रहती है. That's what.
And also devotees only takes those kind of calamities or things which is favorable for his bhaktis or everything. So it doesn't matter what kind of situation, but he takes as much he can take and should not exaggerate.
Yes.
Which is only favorable, we should take that.
Yes. Any other question? Yes.
Prabhuji, I have a question
Sarlamata.
regarding charity. That in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said to Arjuna, Yajna Dan Tapasya na Kajyo. Kajyo means Tapa. So this verse is not related to charity or not?
अब मुझे इतनी संस्कृत थोड़ी आती है.
Yajna Dan Tapasya na Kajyo.
No, I understand.
18th chapter.
In the 18th chapter, Krishna is wrapping everything up and basically giving Bhakti Marg. Everything he said in the last 17 chapters, he is funneling it through and putting it straight for you. So, for Arjuna, so he understands the Bhakti Marg. There are so many other ways, and then there is Bhakti Marg. There is two places in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna repeats the same words. You know which words? Huh?
Yajna Dan Tapasya.
No.
It's chapter 9 and chapter 18, and it's the end of chapter 9, where it talks about
Manmana Bhava
Krishna repeats that twice.
Manmana Bhava, 2 times, yeah.
In the 9th chapter, and again he repeats it in the 18th chapter. Because he's trying to narrow it down now. So cut out everything else and go into this route.
No, my question was that
Yeah.
Dan Tapasya, that is not related charity or karma?
No. Dan is charity. Yajna is yajna, tapasya is tapasya.
Not charity.
Yeah. यज्ञ दान तपस्या में एक ही तो चैरिटी है. दान is the charity. Tapasya, you don't do charity. Tapasya is for you. Yeah, tapasya is austerity. So there is one charity in it, which is dan. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita and many other places that one should not give up the charity. One should always be charitable. But then there is also 4 kinds of different charities. 3 kinds of charities are going to bind you, and the 4th kind of charity is going to free you. So you want the one which will free you, or the one that will bind you? Of course, you want the one that will free you. So accept 4th kind of charity. Krishna doesn't say, when it talks about yajna, dan, tapasya, that dan should be in that form. But then he is explained all kinds of other charities before, how the dan will bind you. And then he also says how the dan can be non-binding. So Srila Prabhupada gives it in the purport. Read it one more time. These purports need to be read over and over to be able to understand them. Every time you read, you'll get something new open up, some other value that you did not see before. I'm just telling you this from my personal experience. Maybe you read everything in the first time, but that's generally experience of general, small, Mandbuddhi devotees like me. Any other questions?
How do you know what is favorable and what is not favorable to spiritual life?
How do you know what is conducive to the spiritual life and what is not conducive to the spiritual life? Man and Buddhi, your brain should be able to discriminate what is favorable to your spiritual life and what is not. And if it is not, then you have your parents, you have Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So you ask other devotees who may be able to guide you. You read up from the scriptures, and you ask somebody who you consider your guru, probably your father. So those are the ways to find out. There isn't really a one straight line that I can say, okay, divide it from here and everything here is conducive and everything over here is not conducive. It can be technical. So one by one we can answer. If you have any examples of, if you think something, if you have a question that, okay, is this conducive or not, then we can give you a more straight answer.
So like for example, what if we're helping somebody, but it's not in relation to spiritual life, but it's like buying something else. So would that be conducive or not?
Well, if it is not to do with the spiritual life, then it is not conducive to your spiritual life.
But what if we have another purpose for example, fulfilling a requirement besides spiritual life? So then
if it has a spiritual purpose, then it is conducive. It may be an activity which is kind of maintain as mundane as long as it doesn't break the principles. It can be mundane, but the goal is to attain spiritual benefit, then it's conducive. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanand.